Добрый день, дорогие друзья!
Hello, dear friends, dear participants of the seminar, speakers, lecturers, participants of the scientific research group. We are so happy to welcome you all at our scientific research seminar, The Secret Doctrine by Yelena Blavatsky. Despite all problems, we continue our work in our unifying uh, activities, trying to concentrate on higher the higher knowledge that was provided to us. The secret doctrine makes us concentrate on one material and one thought, and we are trying to purify the space by these high vibrations, and thus by this high, pure way, we are trying to influence not only our own mind, the space of our mind, but also space around us. And we hope that our today's seminar, when we are studying the material of the secret doctrine, will open new opportunities for studying of this quite challenging material and will provide every one of our participants new ideas, new uh, points which unite us, and new revelations or insights which will help us further on in our work and on our path. So today we continue studying the second stanza and third sloka. So, dear friends, we are happy to work today with our interpreters. They are Olga Tomchuk, Sergei Nasatkin, and Maria Ponomaryova. Thank you very much, dear interpreters, for your help and for your being with us and trying to convey these thoughts, ideas, and try to contribute into this unexpected material, difficult material to formulate and to translate it into words. And thanks to all our participants will try to formulate our thoughts as clear as possible, translate them into words, into speech. We'll try to be understandable to every participant. Of course, our speakers, our lecturers today have prepared unique material, and every experience that they will share today is unique and priceless. So, dear friends, we shall start our seminar, and I give the floor to the president of Adamant Lodge, Theosophical Society of Russia, the head of the Moscow School of Theosophy, Vladimir Yary. Greetings to all our dear friends and participants of the seminar. Let us start, as always, with the thought of the day provided by the book The Pearl of East, where Yelena Petrovna Blavatsky says the following: The sage who knows Brahman moves on the small old path that stretches far away. He will rest in the heavenly pace and then move higher on. The mystery is in this thought. And I would like to add the fact that the secret doctrine, as a matter of fact, gives us all the possibility to open our heart because we cannot open the door to our heart wide open. We can only slightly open, slightly reveal it because the control, the attention, the solemnity should be there at this great event, the when we reveal our inner per- person. The secret doctrine tells us about the will of the good law because the law of the laws, which gives the light, the ray of light, of absolute light, which is darkness for us, to uh, shed it to the germ, the germ of the inner person's essence, because the human being, the man, is the eternal student, which means the eternity is the property of the man. And that's why the secret doctrine tells us about the sacred knowledge. This sacred knowledge uh, today are projected through the day of the white tiger, which means the Nidana, which contains all the combination of Nidanas from the era or epoch of Aquarius, blue monkey, the beauty of thought, the century of the white dragon, the complete wisdom, the year of the black tiger, gives us the beginning of the birth of the inner person. I would say that the black tiger is that black ray of light, or the ray which will come out from darkness. And at this very intense moment, this engendering of the new human man contributes the months, because we also have the months of the black tiger. By the double nidanas, this process is enhanced, birth of the new man. The week of the red hair symbolizes the knowledge of the spirit, and the day of the white tiger as the complete birth. And in this completed birth, it symbolizes Sephira, the ray. When Mâtripadma can get swollen. Hence, if we analyze the Nidanas, translated through very powerful Nidana of the white tiger, Zephira, which is under the ray of Mars, the red energy, towards the space of warmth or being a student. Here, everything is concentrated. And as we study Sloka 3, Stanza 2 of Dhyan, which tells us the following: the hour had not yet struck, the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, the Mâtripadma hadn't yet swollen. Exactly, the white tiger gives us this opportunity to flash into the essence of things, because in this ray there is love, which the creative power of the universal principle, that Brahman that was known by the sage, who will rest in the heavenly place and then will come back, but not as unconsciousless being, but being aware of his great responsibility for the peace in the whole world. Thank you very much for your attention, dear friends. Dear participants, today we are here together, start our seminar in this wonderful nidanas, wonderful energies, and this particular tension, and this uh, ethereal space, which is symbolized by the white tiger, provides us with new opportunities, new understanding. And it is very interesting to see how our thought will develop today. Our studying of Sloka 3, Stanza 2 by our lecturers. So, dear friends, our seminar is officially open, the study of the secret doctrine by HPB. And our first speaker is our friend, dear Mr. Ramprakash, the Theosophists of India, Bangalore, India. Please, the floor is yours. Mr. Ramprakash, you're welcome.
Namaste and good afternoon to the organizers and the participants assembled in the seminar. It is indeed a great pleasure for the student to be contributing his little understanding of the verse and the stanza under consideration. We can learn much by such mutual exchange of ideas and by sharing our individual understanding of the secret doctrine. Let us begin by reciting the Sloka, and then I'll give my understanding of the meaning underlying it. So the Sloka reads, the hour had not yet struck, the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, the Mâtripadma, Mother Lotus, had not yet swollen. Now look at the beauty of these stanzas. In stanza 1 and 2, the teacher describes the indescribable and unknowable state of the absolute in terms descriptive of the primal stages of pre-cosmic manifestation, that they were not. It is an ingenious method of describing the indescribable negative state in intuitively apprehensible positive conceptions. Now, this ingenious method used by the teachers serves two purposes. It helps students to form an idea of, one, what the unknowable is not and yet is, and second, the stages of pre-cosmic manifestation. Now, in the stanza, in the verse and the stanza, and the comments given by the teacher, some terms are spoken of. They are the germ, the ray of the ever darkness, Mâtripadma, the mother lotus, point in the mundane egg. So these four terms are spoken of and introduced to us in the verse. Now, the study of these concepts, the germ, the ray of the ever darkness, Mâtripadma, point in the mundane egg, study of these concepts and meditating on them develop the intuitive faculty of the student and prepares him to correctly comprehend the subsequent teachings on the cosmic and anthropic evolution. HBB, in answering questions on verse 3 of stanza 2, raised by students on these terms, further clarifies the real meaning underlying them in the transactions of Blavatsky Lodge. Now, I will briefly recount HBB's teaching in the transactions of Blavatsky Lodge on these concepts. The point in the circle. The point in the circle is a geometrical symbol. The point in the circle is unmanifested logos, never manifested monad of Pythagoras, lives in solitude and darkness. And when the hour strikes, it radiates from itself one, the first number. This number descending produces two. Two produces three, forming a triangle. This abstract ideal triangle, this is abstract ideal triangle. And this is point in the mundane egg. In other words, it is a second logos, spirit matter universe, 1 in 3, 3 in 1. Now, mundane egg is a metaphor for abstract form, or is a metaphor for archetypal forms. It is a metaphor for world of the archetypes. It is undifferentiated primordial matter in which vital creative germ receives its first spiritual impulse. It is also called in the Indian pantheon Hiranya Garbha, meaning resplendent womb. In it gestates the creative logos, from which is born creative or third logos, demiurgus, creative triangle, Brahma Viraj, Brahma Vak, Brahma Viraj Vak. In Kabbalah, Kita Chokma Bina, active, it is an active will evolving from itself the universe, the third stage. Now, the ever darkness is eternal. The ray radiating from the unmanifested logos is periodical. Now, the germ in the stanza then is an undifferentiated primordial matter containing potentially spiritual prototypes of subjective and objective universe to be evolved. So it is the mundane egg. What then is the ray? Ray that radiates from the unmanifested logos contains the sexless potentiality of both sexes. Mundane egg is pre-cosmic, vital, creative germ which receives its first spiritual impulse. Then potentiality becomes potency. HBB says, germ is everywhere, containing all germs. Eternal egg and the periodical egg. Let's briefly consider this beautiful concept of eternal egg and the periodical egg. Mâtripadma, mother lotus, is eternal egg. It contains the germ in caps, G-E-R-M, germ, in latency. When the ray flashes through the Mâtripadma, then is a non-eternal periodical egg is formed, second logos, the womb of the universe, which is to be. Now, we can apply the law of analogy here. What is above is also below. So the same abstract formula can be applied through all the descending septenary ladders of manifestation down to the physical. In the same way, by law of analogy, the physical germ in the female cell cannot be called eternal, but the latent spirit of the germ concealed in the male cell may be called eternal. So this discussion reveals the true meaning of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14 and verse 4, which says, the great Brahma is a womb for all those various forms which are produced from any womb. And I am the Father who provided the seed. So the true meaning of this verse is clearly become explicit in the study of this particular verse and HBB's comments in the transactions of Blavatsky Lodge. And one more law of analogy is there. One more law of analogy we can apply to anthropogenesis. The evolution of the first three races of the fourth round, first race, second race, third race, of the fourth round of our planetary chain follows the same pattern as the stages of pre-cosmic primal differentiation. Now look at this. 1. The ray which thrills through the point in the circle, Mâtripadma, containing the united potentialities of both sexes, spirit and substance, is analogous to the first race, which is sexless. Second, the primordial triangle, that is a mundane egg, containing primordial threefold differentiation of spirit, matter, universe, Father, Mother, Son, in unity, is analogous to the hermaphrodite races of the latter half of the second race and the first half of the third root race of the fourth round. The third, distinct differentiation of spirit matter into spirit and matter at the stage of the third or creative logos in the macrocosmos is analogous to the latter half of the second root race, which differentiated into latter half of the third root race, which differentiated into separate male and female sexes, becoming separated as male and female. So we have seen here in the explanation given by HBB in the transactions of Blavatsky Lodge, make these concepts of the mundane egg, the germ, the ray of ever darkness, and the Mâtripadma clear to us. So finally, let's recall what Hermes Trismegistus says on this law of analogy. What is below is like that which is above, and what is above is similar to that which is below, to accomplish the wonders of one thing. This is quoted from Isis Unveiled, Volume 1, page 507. So I close my presentation. Thank you.
Dear Mr. Ramprakash, thank you very much for your research. It was wonderful, and the similarities that you revealed to the state of states of Sloka and three races. It is very interesting and insightful. Thank you very much for revealing this scientific paradigm so that we can unite this unmanifested space with the evolutionary manifestations of the humankind. It is a wonderful thought and a very interesting research. Thank you very much for your work. And we are welcoming our dear Michelina Foster, our next lecturer, PhD in Metaphysics and a member of the Theosophical Society of the United States of America. Dear Michelina, thank you very much for being with us today. We are happy to welcome you, happy to see you, and we are all ears to listen to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. At first glance, this sloka is a dichotomy of time measurement In the eternal timelessness of space, it catches one's attention. As students of the ancient wisdom studying these slokas, we explore all the ramifications we can upon the meaning of the words and the concepts. We add in the factors of bygone times and levels of consciousness that the disciples in those days might have possessed. Were these teachings from more primitive times, or were the students an enhanced version of our mentality? As we stand outside these earlier classrooms of timeless teachings, we begin to perceive the simplicity of the actions within the cosmos. In this stanza, we stand in the pre-dawn darkness, for the hour had not yet struck. It is as if one is holding onto a match and striking the side of a matchbox in preparation, or a musician, perhaps, playing a particularly unique sounding instrument, awaits his or her cue to strike the note within the symphony score. There is a time and a place for every manifestation in eternity. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. Echoes in this stanza, as it states, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. It would seem that the Infinite One has a cosmic clock at its disposal for usage. When the effulgent ray is emitted from the dark substance of matter, a light or life flashes into the germ and a point of the mundane egg. We tend to think of this ever as a point here or over there, but in actuality, the germ exists everywhere, in every atom, and collectively they form the center or the universal germ. It is difficult for the human mind to grasp this concept, as we are accustomed to thinking in closed circuitry and defined three-dimensionally bound objects. This is not the way of the great cosmic mind. As we perceive it at our level, it is seen to move within the boundless and the infinite nomenon of eternal and indestructible matter. Father, mother, day and night, living or dead, male and female, are all products of this duality within the human mindset. We cannot think of anything which does not have an equivalent, opposite, a shadow to a light. However, this sloka goes on to show that the dual creative power in nature is a combination of other products and attributes. The word Padma is expressly used to enlist the student's awareness to the many facets to be found in the simplicity of nature. Mother Nature is fully arrayed with many tools for teaching the seeker once he or she steps into her realm. Padma is the water lily of India, the lotus. As a plant, the next species down from animal, man. It is the result of seed growth through the power of heat, fire, and water vapor or ether. Fire represents the spiritual nature in every philosophical and philosophy and religion. It is of the active male origin and genitive principle. Ether, or the soul of matter, is the light of the fire and stands for the passive female principle. It is from this principle that everything in the universe emanates. Ether is also portrayed as water and represents the mother aspect, again, the female. To the young student, the teachings are as wonderful, summer fair, new ideas and concepts everywhere one looks. It's not unlike the kindergarten child with a new box of crayons with so many colors. Eventually, over the years of study, perhaps encompassing lifetimes, the maturing student begins to become aware that all the crayons and the colors of the crayons in the color box are derivatives of three primary colors: red, blue, and yellow. The multiplicity is formed from this simplicity of a trinity. The next step back in the study is a duality of spirit and matter, thus leading to the one absolute, about whom naught can be said. The lotus, however, holds a great lesson for the seeker, for contained within its essence is the blueprint for itself and its prodigy. The lotus holds within its structure miniature outlines of perfectly formed leaves, displaying what one day will become perfect plants. Why should man be any different? The teachings show the unity of all things, the uniqueness of every form and germ or atom, all forming the same basic law or pattern. Here is the elusive permanence of successive and ever-moving patterns of change. The doctrines also always lie before the student. However, the details are embodied in the beingness of the master. The lotus holds the secrets of form and creation through mud, fire, water, air, and into the sunlight. But the details are left to the individual plants to be eventually formed. When the hour has struck and the time is right in its cycle, the Mâtripadma swells. As this action is not dwelt upon in clarification to the reader, it leaves an interesting void of explanation to be explored. We are aware of the growth of a child in the womb of its mother. The womb swells with the child and the amniotic fluid. But what is the correlation of this swelling with that of the Mâtripadma in limitless, boundless, and eternal space of substance? It seems we have another mystery to explore. The lotus is also a simile for the cosmos itself, as it is for man. Here we can begin to perceive the beingness and the beginnings of the concepts of timelessness and prototypes within the creative mechanism we call manifestation. The baby is born with ears and eyes from his mother's womb. However, it has no need of these latent accoutrements within the womb, as there is nothing to be heard and nothing to be seen or noted at that time. And yet the prototype for the needed sense organs is already present at birth. The babe has to learn their usage. Where was the ray to be found which would flash into the germ? Perhaps asleep in a latent state or on a distant journey? This ray, upon awakening, then enters the heart of the Mâtripadma. There were no ears to hear the approach of this ray, for all were asleep in silence. All of this happens beyond and within the divine thought and the divine bosom. It is beyond the thinking process of the mortal human. The students studying these ancient precepts begin to stretch their earthbound minds of dust into the more abstract realms of the cosmic mind. The element that enables this stretching seems to be fire. In our human physical realm, this fire is the nature of friction. We rub two sticks together, or we strike a flint, a match, and a fire is produced. In the mental realm, again, this process of stretching and increasing the fire is accomplished by exerting mental effort, concrete thought, and then abstract thought. The qualities of these attributes change as the student or the disciple progresses. But once struck, the fire flashes out and awakens an idea or a thought in the mind of the thinker. The process tends and proceeds in gradual steps. It has been said that once the fire is struck, there is no going back. As individuals studying this sloka, our next step up the infinite ladder of understanding opens each mind to its own interpretation of this process. Merely viewing this stanza is not enough to strike the fire of perception. Students are required to think about, meditate on, mull over, ponder, and study these cosmic hints in commentary in order to begin to sense the immensity of this universe. The universal laws form a basis for this earth life. However, earth life itself has little to do with universal laws. These laws function far beyond our fragile brains and bodies of stardust. But here we are given clues into the cycles and currents, the sounds and the silence, the entities of form and no form, the root of the world and the bliss of non-being. Let us study carefully the hour of no time before the flash of the ray into the germ and the swollen result within the Mâtripadma. What correlation does our abstract thinking and intuition bring to us? It seems the universe enjoys questions. Let us ask and await answers, which may not at present seem to make any sense to us at all when they arrive. However, remember, the hour had not yet struck, and the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, and the Mâtripadma had not yet swollen. Namaste.
Дорогая Мишелина, огромное
Dear Michelina, thank you immensely. You're always amazing at finding a poetic sound for the word and this music. And this music is shining and floating from one side to another. And those ideas that you conveyed to us as this projection of a manifestation of the universe starts, and as solemnly we can look at this as a concert when the concert director starts with his stick, the concert, and the music, a magical moment of music starts. And this is the reflection of the first logos, or that mindful power of the cosmic law, where there is no imperfection or no inexactitude. It cannot be applied to anything unless we follow it exactly to the letter. And there are no hints or allusions there. It's only proper to human mind that is trying to understand this cosmic law. The cosmic law is an absolute. The secret doctrine is given to all the real true Theosophists, the people who are trying to understand this law and being exact in following it. This is how we are trying to make our intellect more subtle. We are opening our heart, and in this unity, when the heart and intellect become the one space in this synthesis, we can open our intuition or the divine mind and follow the exact application of the cosmic law, similar as above, so below. Thank you for your insights that you gave us as a gift today. Dear friends, and now we are welcoming our young partner, Catalina, Isaza Cantor from Colombia, the Theosophical Society of Colombia, Adyar, the Theosophical Academy, and the International HQ of Theosophical Society. Thank you very much, dear Catalina, for joining us today, and we are waiting impatiently for your wonderful lecture. The floor is yours.
Well, greetings to all fellow Theosophists that join us today. And special thanks to Eugenia and Adam and Lodge for this invitation to participate in this international seminar, where we can share and expand our understanding of the secret doctrine. Thanks to all the workers and translators that make this meeting possible. As I always mention when referring to the secret doctrine, its study is a transcendent experience bordering the poetic, mystical, like our dear Michelina made us feel, and the frontier of the intelligible. Therefore, an attitude of deep meditation from the intuition is fundamental to approach its understanding. As HPP points out in the poem, in the page 79, she says, "It must be remembered that all these stanzas appeal to the inner faculties rather than to the ordinary comprehension of the physical realm." I will share today my personal and humble understanding of this third sloka of the second stanza. It has been mentioned that the stanzas give an abstract formula of cosmic evolution that can be applied mutatis mutandis to all evolution, to that of our tiny Earth, to that of the chain of planets of which the Earth forms one, to the solar universe to which that chain belongs, and so on in an ascending scale till the mind reels and is exhausted in the effort. So by taking forward this study, we can try not only to understand the cosmos, macrocosm and microcosm, but what is vital for humanity, our inner nature and the possibilities of our dharma and service as member of the Theosophical movement. The stanza 2 describes then a stage which to a Western mind is so nearly identical with that mentioned in stanza 1, that to express the idea of its difference will require a treatise in itself. Hence, it must be left to the intuition and the higher faculties of the reader to grasp, as far as possible, the meaning of the allegorical phrases used. By using the intuition, while trying to unveil the deep meaning of these words, we dive in the possibility of being born every second to an inner higher expression. Then, instead of looking at it by the apparent contradictions of the word's manifestation, we internalize it by the inner search for the true understanding in the depths of our being, our deepest consciousness. So, underneath these apparent contradictions of terms, there is a fact of nature. This second stanza does not have the absolute negation of the first stanza, but already questions different aspects of the manifestation. It communicates the impression of the imminence of what is going to begin to be expressed and makes comparisons between that absolute beingness in its state of nothingness, that it's all with the hints of polarization, that the beginning of the manifestation and of the Mayavic appearances implies as a plurality. Although we must always be completely attentive to the fact that none of these changes the reality of the beingness, but that it begins to become more and more imminent to be able to appreciate appearances, to be able to enter into relation with the appearances that make possible the law of evolution. That is to say, the functioning of the Manvantara that has evolution as its object. This manifestation is made through expiration, through the divine breath, which shapes these conditions of appearance so that evolution can take place. Then we can begin to share the screen, and that is why the Sloka tree tells us, the hour had not yet struck. The ray had not yet flashed into the germ. The Mâtripadma mother lotus had not yet swollen. But it is ready to emanate. It is what gives rise to the expression of what is to be the egg of the world. In the state of greater pralaya, shown in the stanza 1, matter is absorbed in itself, in an absolute abstract space, while during the manifestation, whose germ is latent at this point, space appears as a relative manifested space, with relative and apparent modifications, which are not the reality, but which do make possible the manifestation of the evolution within the period that this system encompasses and the plan that its evolution has. That is what is about to happen. The first section, saying, the hour had not yet struck, the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, tells us that the germ is the point in the egg of the world, just a point. That is one of the most difficult notions to grasp with our mind, but it can be pictured if we penetrate what is mathematically a dimensionless point. Through it, there can be all the infinite points that we can conceive and not conceive. But they don't occupy any place because they have no dimension while they are in a latent state. But they are all germs of an egg, that is to say, of a manifestation that will always have his universal ovoid form, represented by matter in its abstract sense. This point is an ideal point within the cosmic ideation. Since in the center of each atom there is a germ, and these collectively constitute the germ, they are dimensionless. They are considered as a future egg of each manifested entity. They are all conceivable and inconceivable points. This brings to mind the maxim that states that the universe is an intelligible sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. That germ is in everything, but it is not limited by any one thing. So it appears unintelligible to our mind. HPB compares it to the smallness of an atom that cannot be detected because it does not really belong to the physical atom, because she refers to the atoms of the universe. As first expression, these points appear on the Adi or divine plane, not in the physical world. From this divine plane, they have to descend, and from the other atoms of each of the other 6 planes, which are conglomerations of that first ideal point of the adic plane of the universe. The collectivity of all these points, if the term collectivity can be applied to something that is unlimited and infinite, this collectivity constitutes the noumenon of eternal and indestructible matter. Noumenon is the cause of all phenomena. It is a totally eternal and indestructible essence, the Mula Prakriti of the Hindustanic philosophy. Well, section B states, the Mâtripadma, Mother Lotus, had not yet swollen. The lotus, Padma, is one of the symbolic figures of the dual and creative power in nature, matter and force on the material plane. The closed or budded lotus flower is a symbol of the infinite possibilities of creation, as here that had not yet swollen, while the open lotus flower represents the creation of the universe once manifestation begins. We can get an idea of its symbolism when we go to the Orient in general and to HPB in Isis Unveiled, where she speaks of the symbolism of the universal lotus. It is a symbol of all ancient occultism and of all the ancient philosophies of humanity, and therefore one of the symbolic bases of occultism of all times. Lotus is flower and fruit at the same time. It has in itself all the potential. It is not only sacred in India, but even in Christianity. Lotus is the flower with which Angel Gabriel greets Mary when he tells her of the future birth of Jesus. The Egyptians associated the lotus flower with the sun, which also disappears at night, only to reappear in the morning. Thus, the lotus came to symbolize the sun and the creation. The water lotus is a product of heat, fire, which is what will be seen in the 3rd stanza as the fohat. It is not our physical fire, but the fire element of the ancients, also of occultism and of water, vapor of ether. It represents fire in each of the philosophical and religious systems, the spirit of the deity. It is the symbol of fire, and it is its first expression as a spirit of the construction of the cosmos in the 3rd stanza. It is the active principle, the constructive action of that intelligence and generator, masculine, giver, in the sense that it is what activates the manifestation of what is going to be that universe. Water has several possibilities of expressions: liquid, solid, vapor or ether, which is still a form superior to this expression. And the ether or the soul of matter, the feminine principle, the receiver, is that space where the fire makes the modifications from which all the things of this universe have emanated. So, the lotus that had not yet swollen possesses that complementary potentiality, the ether or water, mother, and the fire, the father, in a symbolic sense and beyond all materialistic conception. This universe is not yet in the process of formation, which is the egg from which all apparent diversity arises, but the germ begins to appear. The existence is about to be outside its true beingness, that as of now is unmanifested, total. But it is the possibility of all manifestation. And the sloka ends by mentioning the symbolism of the lotus as that which typifies the life of man and of the cosmos, which develop in the same direction, as above, so below. The root of the lotus, which is born in the mud, passes through the water as a symbol of material departure, the astral world. And finally, the flower that floats in the water and opens toward the sky as a symbolism of spiritual development is the point of return to the divine. The lotus then symbolizes the possibility of reunion with the divine from the mud of the densest of such manifestation towards the divine, but also represents that moment of existence when it has not yet swollen, which is the prelude to the descent of the adic plane by forming the atoms of each of the 6 more and more dense planes in order to fulfill the divine plan and return to meet the divine essence. It is a prelude for what the Sloka 4 puts in evidence. This almost ready to come differentiation in what will be the 7 planes. And Sloka 4 says, her heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall as 3 into 4 into the lap of Maya. The ray that was mentioned in the third Sloka has to penetrate the germ so that it becomes mother lotus and can be filled with the egg. Maya's lap is the poetic form of what is the apparent diversity. 3 in 4 in Maya's lap. It is a single ray that will be an expression in the appearance of the first pair of opposites of the father-mother and then fall as 3 in 4, total 7. Maya is the name of Buddha's mother. Mary is the name of Jesus' mother. All these variants of Maya represent the immaculate and untainted birth that redeems all the limitations that Maya itself has been responsible for imposing on its fruit, the universe. But of course, I won't go beyond to completely explain the 4th sloka, as that will be done next time. Before closing, I just want to remind that under the reality, the true concept of the beingness is nothing but apparent contradiction, Mayavic, which is the essence of appearance. However, it is the only reality absolutivity beingness. And the important thing is to understand that the contradiction is apparent and that what it is expressing is a reality that goes beyond all our manifested possibilities. Being is more permanent than existing. Being is the essence of what we are. Existing is to be outside of our being through a vehicle, a limitation, any of the instruments of manifestation that take being out of its permanent reality and turn it away from the expression of itself into existing. So let us cultivate the being while we take the most utility of this existence on this physical plane. Thank you very much. Spasiba and namaste.
Огромное спасибо, дорогая Каталина.
Thank you very much, dear Catalina. It is wonderful. We were wonderfully concentrated following your lecture. You have explained everything, all slokas, so logically and so clear. The classical lecture and explanation, and it was also focusing on the key points. Thank you very much for your wonderful research, wonderful lecture. We will be waiting for you impatiently next time. And now we are giving the floor to our friend importer from Brazil, um, Rafael Marques Albuquerque, the Theosophical Society of Brazil. Please, Dr. Albuquerque, the floor is yours. We are very happy to have you with us today. Thank you.
So, hello to everyone. I would like to congratulate the organizers and the other speakers for such a profound study of the secret doctrine, as well as thank them for the invitation to speak here for the second time. This third sloka refers to a state when manifestation is about to begin. It may sound confusing because we have a series of slokas describing mostly something that's not happening. It's like a long description of a state of denial. It suggests that we ponder about this nothingness that is at the same time potency beyond our conception. It is the cosmic state of almost. When we meditate deeply enough about something, we can achieve deeper understanding of that theme. More than that, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali tells us that if we go deep enough, our whole being is contaminated by the meditation theme. It tells us that by achieving deep meditation on the strength of an elephant, for instance, you get the strength of an elephant and so on. We can then imagine how amazing it could be if we achieve deep meditation on these initial slokas. Apparent nothingness, permeated by supreme potency. If we are inattentive, we could believe this sloka is talking about a weak state of nothingness, but it is the opposite. It is everything we know of condensed in a state before manifestation. It may sound paradoxical, as our thoughts tend to avoid thinking in terms of potency. It's easier to our thoughts to conceive something that either is or is not. Something that is at the same time nothing and everything challenge our everyday mind. This sloka implies two main symbols, and if we could go to the next slide, thank you. To refer to this state of tremendous potency. The germ, also referred of as the mundane egg, and the lotus, also referred as a kind of mother. They are very powerful symbols. Blavatsky describes how different cultures worldwide use such symbols, and she even created whole sections in the secret doctrine dedicated to them. There is one section entitled The Mundane Egg, and a different one named the lotus as a universal symbol. This fact gives us an idea of how important these two symbols are. I would like to make some reflections about each of them. The first one is the germ, or the mundane egg. Some of us may be familiarized with that. In the poem, HPB describes an archaic manuscript of palm leaves. The first page has an immaculate white disc, and the second, the same disc with a central point. I quote from the poem. The point in the hitherto immaculate disc, space and eternity in pralaya, denotes the dawn of differentiation. It is the point in the mundane egg, the germ within it which will become the universe, the boundless periodical cosmos, a germ which is latent and active, periodically and by turns. In Isaza Unveiled, HPB tells us that the Scandinavian cosmogony describes this mundane egg as having a phantom trait, which is useful to remind us that this egg is not material yet. She also uses a concept that can help us understanding. This mundane egg is the world's matrix. Like a coded piece of DNA, the whole universe is contained in potency. In order to understand this mundane egg, it's a good idea to think about what is that thing that will fecundate it, allowing it to generate the whole universe. In that sloka, it is referred as the ray. The absolute, which some Hindus would call Swayambhuva, emanates that ray. HPB describes it in Isis Unveiled. Swayambhuva, the unknown essence of the Brahmans, is identical with Ein Sof, the unknown essence of the Kabbalists. As with the latter, the ineffable name could not be pronounced by the Hindus under the penalty of death. In the ancient primitive trinity of India, that which may be certainly considered as pre-Vedic, the germ which fecundates the mother principle, the mundane egg, or the universal womb, is called Nara, the spirit or the Holy Ghost, which emanates from the primordial essence. It's like Sephirah, the oldest emanation, called the primordial point, and the whitehead, for it is the point of divine light appearing from within the phantomless and boundless darkness. In other words, Nara, or the Holy Ghost, is emanated by the Absolute and fecundates the mundane egg in order to trigger the beginning of manifestation by the creation of creative entities. From such descriptions, we can imagine there is a clear distinction of gender between the two symbols. The ray as a male principle fecundates the female principle, which is called universal womb or egg. However, there are hints in HPB's writings that this gender division is, at most, a very relative one. She uses words such as bisexual, male and female, and androgynous to both the emanation and the womb. Like the example below from Isis Unveiled, it says, in the Hindu cosmogony, Swayambhuva emits Nara and Nari, its bisexual emanation, and dividing its parts into two halves, male and female. This fecundates the mundane egg, within which develops Brahma, or rather Viraj, the creator. The idea that both ray and egg contain in each one both male and female cosmic principles becomes more evident with the second symbol of this sloka, the lotus. At the one hand, she calls it the Mâtripadma, the mother lotus. However, later she describes the lotus as a symbol of the combination of fire and water, or male and female principles condensed. If we are not careful, ideas such as mother and father, man and woman, male and female may bring us to a simplistic understanding, conceiving cosmic principles as a way too anthropomorphic form, which would miss the point. Such gender divisions should not be taken too literally in the dawn of differentiation. Another important aspect of these symbols, both mundane egg and the lotus, is its role as a bridge between the unmanifested and the manifested, the infinite and the finite, the abstract and the concrete. It's like a point of connection between the mundane and the transcendental in its higher aspects. In The Secret Doctrine, HPB writes that the immutably infinite and the absolutely boundless can neither will, think, nor act. To do this, it has to become finite, and it does so by its ray penetrating into the mundane egg or infinite space, and emanating from it as a finite God. All this is left to the ray latent in the one. When the period arrives, the absolute will expands naturally the force within it, according to the law of which it is the inner and the ultimate essence. This mundane egg or lotus is therefore the first step of the absolute in the realm of differentiation, and it represents its tool to generate all sorts of limited forms. In one sense, the lotus or the mundane egg are the closest that we can think of as the ancient connection between the absolute and us. In the book called Creative Symbols of Tantric Buddhism, the Buddhist teacher Shankarakshita offers a reflection on the symbol of the lotus, which also applies to other powerful symbols. He says, when you see the lotus as a symbol, you are seeing it as being illuminated by some other higher dimension of reality. This reality is described in some Buddhist texts by the term shunyata, emptiness, which is a synonym for the unfathomable, undefinable mystery of the true nature of things. However, we cannot come at that mystery except through what is around us every day. As the Prefect of Wisdom Sutras put it, we cannot experience shunyata except through rupa. Rupa, that means form, referring to the objects we can perceive through the senses. A symbol is an object seen or felt or experienced as possessing a heightened significance that cannot be reduced to words or concepts. So it's quite accurate to say that a symbol stands for something. It's more that the symbol is that thing as it appears under a certain set of conditions in a certain mode. In Isaza Unveiled, HPB describes how this symbol appears in art in different cultures, either as a lotus or water lilies. These facts go to show the identical parentage of this idea in the three religious systems, Hindu, Egyptian, and Judaico-Christian. Whenever the mystic water lily or lotus is employed, it signifies the emanation of the objective from the concealed, or subjective, the eternal thought of the ever-invisible deity passing from the abstract into the concrete or visible form. It's important to keep in mind that such complex symbols, such as the lotus, can also have multiple meanings. When explaining this Sloka, HPB explains the idea of the lotus seed having miniature lotus within it, as well as the symbol of something that grows from the mud, that develops in the water and flowers towards the sky or the sun. It's also said that the Buddha, when he got enlightened, he began to see everyone as lotus flowers, in the sense that everyone have the potential of enlightenment, if the right conditions are provided. In that sense, the lotus is also a symbol of evolution and transformation towards enlightenment. We also should not be too closed-minded, as HPB declares that in Europe, the water lily may replace the lotus as a symbol. We could have others. In South America, for instance, we have the Vittoria regia, a plant that is considered to be similar to the lotus. And at this point, we could return to my initial provocation. What would happen if we could meditate deeply in these symbols, which represent both apparent emptiness, enormous potency, and the point of contact with the highest of all principles? If we are to try this exercise in our meditation cushions, in the next stanza, HPB offers us a hint on how to do that. When we observe the symbol of the egg, we may be tempted to meditate on it as an outside observer. It would, however, express the symbol in such a limited way, like an object located in a particular space. Later in The Secret Doctrine, HPB warns us against it, saying that the symbol of an egg also expresses the fact taught in occultism that the primordial form of everything manifested, from atom to globe, from man to angel, is spheroidal, the sphere being with all nations the emblem of eternity and infinity, a serpent swallowing its tail. To realize the meaning, however, the sphere must be thought of as seen from its center. The field of vision or of thought is like a sphere whose radii proceeds from oneself in every direction and extends out into space, opening up boundless vistas all around. I hope these words have helped you to reflect about the meanings of these symbols and how to use them. In order to reach the transcendental aspect of them, we need both knowledge and meditation practice. The more prepared we are in that sense, the access gets deeper and deeper. Thank you for your attention.
Dear Raphael, thank you very much for your scientific research material. It was very interesting to follow your thought, and that image that you created, it is so exact, and bright and colorful, real, and I'm sure that the consciousness of every one of us got impressed by it. We were following you very attentively. Thank you very much for your work. Dear friends, we've also prepared a final presentation for you, and we'll try to focus on key points. Even though our dear speakers have mentioned a lot and told about the Sloka, yet last time we told that we can pierce the Sloka infinitely, and this the pattern of the image that we are drawing is limitless for every consciousness. So this is the unique feature of the fundamental work by HPB, The Secret Doctrine. So may I ask several minutes of your attention to tell my presentation. Well, Stanza 2, Sloka 3. The hour had not yet struck, the ray had not yet flashed into the germ, the Mâtripadma hadn't yet swollen. Stanza 2, Sloka 3. We've thought that Sloka starts with this notion or inactivity. The hour hadn't yet struck. What is an hour? It is a unit of time, usually considered 1/24th of a day. It is 60 minutes. The 24 sum is 6, and this means 60 minutes or 3,600 seconds. So 1/24th or 1 in 6 is a 7 ray symbol. 60 or 6 in 3,600 or 9, 6 in 9. 6 as the matter, 9 is the spirit of the matter. So if we join and look at the sum of these minutes and seconds, we will have 6. 6 is the symbol of Mâtripadma. If we join Mâtripadma symbol with the symbol of the ray, which is 1/24th of the day or hour, we will have the form. 6 plus 7 makes 13. 13, sum of it makes 4, or the inner form, symbol of the inner form. On the clock dial, this is the arrow corresponding to the number 12. This is the countdown of every hour. So 12 makes 3, or point, or germ, and symbol 3 plus 4 makes 7. This is the sevenfold character. We can assume that the hour hadn't yet struck, which means there was no sevenfold. There was no spirited matter, 6 and 9. There was no 13 or 4. 4. The movements of the um, reported as 12, the dial hand of each hour are a compound of 12 as the point of reference. Thus, we have 24 as sum or 6 Mâtripadma, the eternal primordial mundane egg. And when the hour strikes, this sevenfold logos will shine into the germ or Mâtripadma. So there was no time. The hour hadn't yet struck. There was no point of the germ, no ray, no Mâtripadma swelling. Because the hour is the symbol of three parts. The point is the sphere of the germ, Mâtripadma. This is how we reveal the movement of the stanza, this first sentence. The ray of the eternal darkness becomes the ray of light and pierces the point in the mundane egg. A point is the matter in its abstract sense, and the germ itself is the uh, collectivity of atoms, because the point is a symbol of matter and the ray is a symbol of the spirit. This twofold creative power, in other words, matter and spirit, matter and force on the material plane, is Padma. What does Padma mean in Sanskrit? Uh, we shall take this translation and see what is the meaning of it. It is one of the ancient symbols in the form of the lotus flower, which is very popular in South and Southeast Asia. It is revered in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. Originally, which is very surprising, the lotus flower was the emblem of the sun, because the sun, as a creative power, gives life to all the existing entities. Lotus itself is a product of heat, fire, or reason, and water, or steam, or ether. The spirit is the male incipient active principle, uh, but the soul of matter is the light of fire, the female passive principle from which everything is in this universe originated. Ether water is the mother, and the fire is the father. The lotus seed contains perfectly formed leaves and a miniature view of the future completed plant. So the nature gives a sample of the preliminary design of its creation, and it is a wonderful principle and wonderful thing. Mâtripadma had not yet sworn, yet in symbolism, it is the form sacrificed to an inner or basic thought. Here the idea is that our inner form or shape is the basis. So until we haven't achieved the state of acceptance of this basic idea or the sacrifice to this inner state, nothing happens. So the form should be sacrificed to non-form, or the external should get transferred into internal or basic. Let us have a look at the planes of being. How can it be when the inner was revealed to the higher? Uh, Let us see how this state, when the external transfers into internal, we see one of conceptual aspects when we understand then the inner, the internal is created when it has the possibility to be revealed for the higher. So, lotus is a favorite symbol of the cosmos and man, and it symbolizes the life of the cosmos and man. Lotus grows in water, having its root in silt or mud, and spreads its flower over water in the air. The idea is also very interesting because the lotus is in the water or in the mud, yet its flower is over the water, which means the material life under the water, and the flowers above water is the existence in astral world. We shall see how it goes through the different planes, matters and prototypes, and how all the principles get together to symbolize the spiritual movement. This flower is floating over the water and opens up to the sky. It is a symbol of spiritual existence. So when the sacrifice was made to the external, the internal gets open to the higher forces. This is the symbol of developing according to the planes of being. This flower that floats over the water when the inner form was open to the higher power. What is this flower on the plane of spirit outside forms? This is the future moded, the future concept as a configuration of the universe inside the lotus as a symbol. This is moded, but moded never, Pythagorean moded, never gets manifested. It stays in privacy, in solitude, but when the hour strikes, it emits from itself the one, the first number. In the process of descending, this number turns into two and turns into three, forming a triangle, the first completed geometric figure. And if we get back once again, when we're talking about the inner that opens outer or the higher, we mentioned that the point in the circle is the logos unmanifested. Yet the triangle, which gets out of the point, is the manifested logos. And thus, it corresponds to the future Pythagorean monad when one goes into two and into three. So the key point of the sloka, it is the ideal abstract triangle, is the point in the mundane egg, which after the maturation period comes out of the egg, the third stage, forming the real triangle, which means the third sloka corresponds to the potential third stage of manifestation, the exit of a point into triangle. Let's have a look at the triangle, how it can be developed. First logos is potentiality. It's unmanifested reason, the plane of spirit without forms, the first seven rays star, which is potentiality or impetus of the future manifestation of the Tian Kogan hierarchy. Second logos is the hidden thought. The hidden thought shows us this germ or triangle. It is the plane of spirit out of forms, the spirit or concentration of power when we see Foucault, when the threefold gets into one potential powerful point and twofold power is concentrated in unity and threefold has unity and it is ready to get into the fourth form. And the third logos is demerge or active willpower that becomes a cause at a lower level. So the third logos, the manifested seven-ray star, which is on the plane of mind and creativity, is the reason for the lower planes. The mind and the willpower, the creative power, are the reasons for creation of sin or astral, the reason for the physical, and the plane or the impetus for the reason of appearance or creation of the man thinking or conscious. The ever darkness as para-Brahman, as Yelena Petrovna writes, even logos only can see Malaprakriti and cannot go beyond this veil because the uh, point is potentially white in the circle, which is dark, and the point is the first available point for our mind. The eternal darkness is eternal, yet the ray which appears as the white point is periodical. So, three key points here that we will consider is the point of the germ, the ray, and Mâtripadma. Let us start with point. The point is the channel that leads into infinity, and this expressed concept is unique in itself because the point, even though it is static, it is a channel which leads into infinity, which means that whilst every one of us, before we find this point inside, we cannot get to it through the channel to another world, the channel of our inner understanding, understanding of other people, society, other worlds, thin plane, mentality, feelings, and senses. So the point is the channel to infinity. Also, the point is the central point of source of life, the symbol of primary creative energy, so concentrated that it can only be reflected by something immaterial. So the point is so concentrated that it can have this reflection later. The symbolism of this point as an extremely compressed energy is extremely close to a modern physical and astronomical theories about the origins of the universe, because everything starts with a point. Any activity, any manifestation, it is a reference point. It engenders the line which serves as center for the cross and circle, and whilst it is immobile, it creates the movement, the line, the cross, the movement. For example, the moving of the wheel or the center of the human ego, self. When the sage gets to its point and achieves the serenity, the calmness, and the feeling of the divine presence. And here there is another revelation of the inner state of this point, the inner potentiality. The human heart is the divine heart. They are just the one. So when the sage, the wise man, reaches the heart, the divine presence touches him, and he acquires this peace, this calm. This is the key core point, the heart. The main things are the center, and this center is the beginning of the countdown, the reference point. The key point of Sloka is that the germ is the reference point. The primordial point is the unmanifested one, which creates threefold or the symbol of the beginning, center, and the end. So in the primordial point, there are three unmanifested: beginning, middle, and the end. And this concept corresponds to three elements or three mystical slogans. Aum, A, the beginning, U, the middle, and M, the end. And all together, as the one, they create the letter Yod, which is also symbolical, has a symbolical meaning. So the point and the circle tend to converge into a single point, which has the name. And this name cannot be uh, said. We can only guess when the point and the circle tend to converge into one point. They make this name. It is hidden because it is inner state, inner heart, or that projection of the universe, or the future reflection of the universal wisdom on the future human consciousness, which will only be revealed in the sixth and seventh rays. That's why the name is not been pronounced yet. This is the process, this conversion of the plural into the one. This is deification. And the point itself uh, is the inevitable middle. What is the inevitable middle? This is the state of its immobility. It's being static. It's being the basis. This central point is always the opposite to the circle of the samsara wheel. While samsara is moving on and on, before we reach this inner synthesis, unchanged, inevitable middle of harmony, beauty, the synthesis of the inner state of peace, we cannot leave the samsara wheel. This exit is only through the point. When we when the ray goes from the central point and pierces the germ, it goes back to the central point, and the germ is being developed into the second logos, triangle of inside of the mundane egg. Then out of manifested logos uh, go seven rays, and the multitude of hierarchies, abstract, asexual uh, form from the central point. So we reach the point when we see there is a potentiality of both genders, male and female, but it will only be when the ray falls into the mat and becomes a square, the first attractors. So here, in the planes of being, we see the ray, the and the third logos, third unmanifested and first manifested in the prototype plane, and seven rays. There is the concept provided to us by Elena Petrovna Blavatsky, where we can see this movement, what comes from what. So the potentiality of both genders, female and male, uh, is there, but only when it becomes the first attractors, when the ray falls into mat and becomes a square. Yet here we have the asexual wide space, that reference point of the logos, which can be reached by human consciousness. Yet the attractors or potentiality of both genders will come later on. The first attractors is there, the geometry in its sequence. So the mundane egg, strictly speaking, it is not the matter. The mundane egg is an atom, the first stage of manifestation, undifferentiated primary primordial matter, in which the life-giving germ is, and when it receives its first spiritual impulse, only then potentiality will become a reality. How beautiful, how clear it is told, and how it will be. Because the material form can be destroyed. Yet the atom is not destructible, like the first divine unit, the center of a circle. It cannot be destroyed because it has no circle. It is located everywhere, just like the germ, because the germ is all the non-manifested nature or creative power that has to manifest. Hindus call it Brahma. Mâtripadma is an eternal egg, and it will become periodic when the ray of the first logos pierces the latent germ in the Mâtripadma, which is the egg, a kind of a womb of the universe. The Mâtripadma, the secret doctrine, is also explained or divided into three syllables. Mar is a symbol of water, three is a symbol of the triangle, and Padma or lotus. So the idea of a triangle with a point in the center and its reflection and all these is situated in one lotus. The concentration of the point can be concentrated at the point that it has the reflection, and it only happens in the lotus. So the hour hasn't struck yet. The ray hasn't pierced the germ, and Mâtripadma hasn't yet swollen. Let us see how it was. Mâtripadma hadn't yet swollen because the ray hadn't yet pierced the germ, and the ray hadn't yet pierced the germ because the hour hadn't yet struck. Let the hour hadn't yet struck. Wait without getting tired. Let the liars lie. Don't consent to them. Be able to forgive and do not pretend forgiving to be more generous and wiser than the others. I would like to end our presentation with these words of the uh, lyrics which contain the key point of the whole sloka. When the hour strikes, there will be shining truth, and only one truth shines like sun, and this is the eternal sun, the higher manifestation. So when we are talking about sloka, we say that when the hour hadn't yet struck, when the ray hadn't yet pierced the germ, because the truth wasn't shining. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky told that I will be following the path of truth all my life, whatever happens. And now, all over the world, the situation is not only the social society and every soul and every society and every lord, everybody is waiting for the truth to shine. And there will be this moment when the hour strikes and the truth shine as the sun. Thank you very much for your attention. Now I would like to hear your comments and feedbacks of all participants of um, all over the world. Mr. Narendran, please, you're here with us today. Please share your feedback.
Good evening from Blavatsky Lodge in Mumbai. Wonderful to see all of you. And greetings to the Adamant Lodge and all the participants of the evening. We have had a very fantastic occult journey this evening with such a kaleidoscopic view of the stanza. And what is very amazing is each person's perception of the stanza. You know, it's just like a Patanjali Sutra of 2 lines, but how huge and vast the meaning is. This is exactly what Madame Blavatsky wanted in the study of Theosophy. To quote Madame Blavatsky, she says, "Give us facts that we may investigate, not assert, that we must believe without proof." Again, she says, "It is above everything important to keep in mind that no theosophical book acquires the least additional value from pretended authority." This is very ironical that Madame Blavatsky wants people to give the contrarian opinion about what you read about in the book. Because out of that contrarian and out of this contemplative investigation, we discover what Immanuel Kant talks about the noumenon. So I think in this background of the Immanuel Kant philosophy of noumenon, we can understand the sloka. I'm not here to explain the sloka because we have had already a wonderful exposition of the interpretation of the sloka, but I would like to add certain points which might interest you in connection with the sloka. So I explained this concept of how Immanuel Kant's noumenon would actually help us to investigate the sloka, because more than the phenomena of the lotus, it is the esoteric meaning of the lotus that we need to understand, because creation cannot happen in muck, in mud. Creation cannot happen in muck or mud. It can only happen in purification. The immaculate purification is very much essential for any creativity. And this universe is also, as we say, as the Hermetic, as above, so below. So this universe is the reflection of our own self. Speaking about symbolism, Professor Deepa Sundaram of the University of Denver, Religious Studies. She has done some excellent work in symbolism of Eastern esotericism, especially Hinduism and Buddhism. In the Buddhist Kalachakras, we have seen a lot of animal symbols being used to explain concepts and the manifestation of the physical matter. And in the West, we use the rose has been actually made a symbol of religiosity, Islam, Rosicrucians, Christianity, and so on. In the East, if you see Hinduism and Buddhism has taken the lotus in its mythology, in its philosophy, and in its Puranas. In the Puranas, Vishnu is the person through whose navel the lotus is born, and out of this lotus emanates Brahma, the creator. And out of this petals of the lotus, the divine feminine of Mahalakshmi or Padma Lakshmi, the divine feminine is also, so it's all the unity, it's all one unity out of which emanates this diversity of manifestations. So this is a very important way she has conveyed this. And in fact, it is said the lotus flower in Hinduism represents the womb of the universe and the dynamics of the universal creation and the cosmogenesis. So the ideation of the universe out of nothingness is actually a mirage. It is not nothingness at all. It is actually a dynamic manifestation of the Parabrahman in the universe that is actually working on all this. And the lotus seems to be the symbolic representation of the universe. And then this happens out of a desire of the manavantaric dynamism that happens in cycles. And it's such a, if you even imagine the kind of age and the eons that takes place for this dynamic going forward, it's amazing. So I think this sloka will actually trigger us on to understand the esoteric ideas of the secret doctrine, and also to understand that these symbolism should not fade away into our minds by merely representations. So the journey is much deeper and more individual, as we have seen here today, and I'm sure we will contemplate more as we go down the study of the secret doctrine. So Om Mani Padme Hum. Let us discover the jewel in the lotus. Goodbye. Thank you.
Большое спасибо.
Thank you very much, Mr. Narendran, for your input, for your insight. And now waiting is Sergei Mikhailovich Kolganov, the candidate philosophical status of the chair of philosophy of Moscow State Aviation Institute. Mr. Kolganov, we are happy to hear you. Greetings to all the participants of the seminar. I would like to point out that in this sloka, the understanding of the germ corresponds to the meaning that was given in Upanishad. Also in Indian philosophy, we may find the explanation of germ as Brahman. And the main distinctive feature of philosophy as one of the forms of social consciousness is the unity. And in my professional activities, I always tried to lead all the multitude of events to show.
Сегодня на семинаре мы видим совершенно противоположный процесс. Это широкое раскрытие предельно коротких положений шлоки и всего разнообразия заложенных в ней смыслов.
To express all the potential senses. It is a wonderful process. Thank you for all lectures and especially the depth of piercing into the text of Sloka by our dear Ramprakash. Thank you also, felicitators, for the perfect organization of the seminar. Thank you very much, Mr. Kolganov, for your wonderful words. And we invite to share his opinion our partner from Finland, this Ritva Latvi, Finland, Helsinki, Blavatsky Lodge. Please,
Good
Dear
afternoon,
Lapi, you're welcome.
everybody. We are afternoon. India is evening. Yes, but I want to say thank you from my heart, especially young person, Ralph and Catalina. I'm happy that we have young people and they carrying Theosophy idea in future. I'm very happy. But I take 2 points there. That's it. Me when Rafael told us what we have to do. We need knowledge and meditation. But I said one more. We have the service also, and you did such service because you share your thinking and you made this presentation, and it's very important. And when Catalina beginning in your presentation, you took such point and very important. There is just nothing, but there is. And I think so very shortly, but very, how can I say, simple way. But your presentation was beautiful also. And then last, I like when this lady said, Mâtripadma, how is tree there is water and triangle and lotus. It's there is just also very, how can I say, one sentence, so much idea. But thank you very much all and very good day. Continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Ritva, because you all find time to connect, to be with us, to follow this path, to find your own ideas and to express gratitude to our speakers, which were wonderful today, absolutely unique, and they presented their amazing research studies. And we are giving the floor to Mr. Kishori, Indian Theosophical Society of India. Mr. Kishori.
Greetings to everyone. Greetings to Theosophical Society, Russia, and all the participants. Namaste to all. And today I have a wonderful seminar, wonderful presentations by all the 4 participants, very much in details. And the last presentation of Eugenia Madam, and also wonderful presentation. The Mâtripadma, the Sloka is very, very, very important in all religions. The lotus, the Mâtripadma, and everything is very, very important and symbolical. Everybody has expressed their views, and everything is fine. The ancient wisdom of the sages, they express that when they have seen the entire our solar system, the pole star, and the entire zodiac signs at once with their vision, with their clairvoyance, and this thing, they have seen the shape of the visible universe that is affecting humans like a Padma, like a lotus, that is observed by our ancient wisdom people. And one more thing, if we compare the hour has not yet struck to the today's life, let us say 17th to 18th century, the hour has not struck, and suddenly the hour has struck. The evolution has begun. The science has started to work. The science has speed up, and the evolution has taken very vast, and everybody is coming into one nation, one philosophy. Like it's Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. In the internet, we will see the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So if we see the hour has not struck in today's times, the evolution has begun from 17th to 18th century and is going very fastly. So this is how I observed in today's spiritual, evolutionary speeding up of humanity. And let us enjoy that symbolic Mâtripadma and address this lotus symbol in our daily life and sadhana. And as Narendran sir put it in a simple way, Om Mani Padmaham, the Manipuraka Chakra, and enjoy the life the secret doctrine way. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Thank you all. Thank you. Greetings to all the IT team and all the Russian Federation people and the hosts and all of you. Namaste from Kishore Guntur Theosophical Society, India. Thank you. Namaste.
Господин Кишори Анголия, огромное спасибо.
Dear Kishore and Gauri, thank you very much for sharing your opinion, for your feedback, and noticing that the universe is getting faster, all activities are accelerating. It was very important. And now I would like to welcome Kemerovo City, Blavatsky Lodge, Russia, the Vice President of Blavatsky Lodge, Ludmila Razуваeva. Ms. Razуваeva, the floor is yours. A couple of minutes, your comments, your impressions, maybe some insights on Stanza. Greetings to all the participants. I'm very happy to see all of you, dear friends, here. And indeed, today, many ideas, very important thoughts have been expressed, and that the third sloka gave an opportunity to deeply ponder on the notions and ideas that the hour hadn't yet struck, the ray hadn't yet pierced the Germ, and Mâtripadma hadn't yet swollen. All the ideas that were expressed by Theosophists of different countries were important and interesting. Thank you all. Ari Narendran's lecture was wonderful on lotus, and of course many thoughts occur, and if we consider lotus as all the elements of the material plane, earth, ether, water, fire, and all is identical to the planes of creation, being. It is all very interesting, and the fact that we ponder on it in these difficult times, 2022, the year of tiger, the black tiger month, and the day of the white tiger, we see it all in Kalachakra. All this gives us the possibility to give birth to new thoughts, to move forward. All this work is so important. We thank dear Michelina Foster, dear Eugenia Mikhailovna, for your final presentation. Our dear ladies and gentlemen who all talked about these dancers, they prepared the material. Thank you for your help and work. Dear Alexandra, we're so happy to hear you. Thank you. Dear friends, all participants who could join today the seminar, may I share a couple of considerations, couple of thoughts about this stanza. This stanza is important. Not only there is a white tiger today, the symbol of a warrior, the symbol of a ray, the symbol of consolidation of everything. It's a divine willpower, so that with this ray we can pierce into our own essence, our real nature, and awaken our consciousness and reveal our individuality, because only individuality is capable of creation. Thank you very much, dear friends and participants. Dear Theosophists, today there was a significant event because we could, despite all difficulties, all tension, all what is happening in the world, we could work, we could concentrate on light and reveal new thoughts, new insights that we haven't done before. And our dear speakers, Mr. Ramprakash, with his wonderful analysis and revelation of new thoughts, Mr. Rafael de Albuquerque, and our young specialist, which who always expresses himself logical and wonderful. Our wonderful Michelina Foster, who this wonderful female warmth and light and poetry and poesy, which always lightens our minds into all the corners of the Sloka. Our dear Catalina, who is very busy in the International Academy in the headquarters Adyar, she always finds time to be tuned and follow us. You see, the Theosophists who study systematically the Theosophical works, they can talk about the secret doctrine in any time, at any moment, and contribute into creating the image and conveying the thoughts in the clear way and making it clear for us and easier to understand. We thank our interpreters who helped us today. We thank our technical help who helped to coordinate and lead the seminar. Yuri Butin, who is registering and recording the seminar. Very soon we are going to publish the seminar on our Telegram, YouTube, the full version. Of course, we will send you the links, and we will answer all your questions in our Theosophical quiz function, where we always analyze all your questions and try to provide answers. Thank you once again for being with us till the end of the seminar. It means that your interest is so important that you can stay tuned for 2 hours without getting disconnected. Thank you very much for being with our listeners from all parts of the world. Our next seminar will be held the 14th of April, and on the 30th of April we will study the fourth Sloka, the fourth stanza. Thank you very much, dear friends, for being with us. We thank every one of us for your priceless, precious, and irreplaceable input in our studies. Thank you. Light and love to all of you. We love you. Goodbye. Namaste. See you soon. See you soon in April, dear friends. So let's be together. Stay tuned. Write your questions and ideas. We'll be happy to work together. Goodbye.
The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Dedicated to all true Theosophists. Book of the Third Millennium.
Blavatsky only knew.